Fascinating model here. Walk us through sort of the origins of how this company began, because I think it was probably pre-COVID, and how the technology works.
So PathSpot is a system for protecting food service operations and their employees and customers from the threat of dangerous illness and outbreaks by scanning employees' hands to see if they have any harmful contamination that could make someone sick in less than 2 seconds, and then using the data from those scans to ensure that hand washing frequency and efficacy is being followed across an establishment. My background's in biomedical engineering and public health, and I started my career in the research space. I spent time building technologies for the developing world and performing research as well as working around the Kilimanjaro region, building low-cost medical tools and technologies for obviously resource-constricted settings. And this opportunity allowed me to start seeing public health issues with a different lens. When I returned to the US, I started to see all of these public health issues here domestically that I felt like could also really benefit from low cost but medical grade solutions. And that's when I got really interested in foodborne illnesses and the impact that those were having. So years before, obviously, everyone started to really focus on hand washing in coronavirus. Yes.
No, the market definitely came to you in many ways. It doesn't directly detect for SARS-CoV-2, but I guess the thinking among your customers must be if employees are washing their hands enough, we're in turn lessening our risk of having a COVID breakout.
Exactly. One of the top ways that we can prevent any sort of transmission of illness, COVID included, is through frequent and effective hand washing. And so by encouraging that and looking for common contaminants that spread many of these illnesses, our device is helping to support that outbreak as well as many others.
Christine, I know this is for institutions and for food services, but I think I speak for America when I say I need this for my 9-year-old. He's not great, I don't think, at hand washing. Is it possible technically to separate that light-based spectroscopy portion of this and the read and put the expensive components of this in the cloud so that there's a consumer version? So we parents have a case to make that, hey, you can do a better job washing your hands.
Absolutely. Our vision for the product scales far beyond detecting for illness in restaurants and food commercial settings to instantaneous detection for illness at large. I mean, I think we can all imagine that this is something that would be applicable in hospitals and schools, nursing homes, airports, even consumer use, as you mentioned. So our patent portfolio includes a ton of different visualizations for this technology to work in low-cost measures in all of those different instances and use cases.
When you talk about low cost, I mean, how low are we talking about? Because it's easy to imagine this is something that a national chain could easily afford for a lot of its doors, but that a mom and pop, which is already struggling with a host of other issues, namely paying their employees, that this would just be one more added cost, that it would be highly discretionary.
This is something that we've worked incredibly hard on. One of our primary missions is to make this something that is affordable and accessible across the board, both from a data component as well as the actual detection and tracking elements of the unit itself. So we sell the units for a monthly cost that's the same as just a couple of hamburgers in a usual location. We want this to be something where it's actually decreasing overall costs for these establishments because they have more tools and infrastructure around hygiene and monitoring compliance that takes away some of that manual time that would be required and allows this to be a little bit of a more seamless component. And we really work with all of our partners to make sure this is something that is affordable so that it can be used across not only large chains, but mom and pop locations as well.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.